So flashless forging, it is basically takes place in three stages. Yeah. In a flashless forging, most important is the workpiece volume must be equal to the space in the die cavity within very close tolerance. So the first and foremost requirement for the flashless means there will not be any extra part to be produced. Here, as we know, flash is basically the extrusions, or we can say the extendings that are to be cut after all. Here, that are flashes. So flashless forging means there will be no extra part produced by this that is to be reworked after the forging process. So for the flashless process, the first and foremost requirement is that that the amount of that is we can say the volume of the workpiece should be equal to the space that is available to us in the die cavity, and that too within a very close tolerance. Reason being because the we can say the volume of the material and the we can say the volume of the workpiece and the volume of the material should be the same because they as as much as the material is being taken, all of them is to be produced into the we can say a part where no we can say neither a point neither a flash is being left after this. If a starting billet size is too large, excessive pressure will cause damage to the die and press. So reason being, if we take excess of material, like billet size is basically the we can say a starting workpiece material that is a billet. Clear? So if we take it too large, then what will be happening? We will be doing it in this is we will be taking it. So when we will be putting on pressure on this, that will be causing damage to the die as well as the press also because the amount of material that is being taken or the size of the if the size of the billet is very much large in this case, then the excess material will not be put into the die. Clear? But if we are putting on the pressurizing it the material, then also put the pressure on material, then what will be happening is it will be we can say distort our it can distort our die or can distort the we can say the shape of your press. Clear? And then if the billet size is too small, on the other case is second is if the we are taking the size of the billet is taken small than the required length. So then what will be happening is that the cavity will not be filled. Clear? Because it will not be taking the whole of the space available in the cavity. And when it is put on the excessive, we can say pressure upon the pressure by the we can say press. So what will be happening is that it is not able to fill the cavities, and so the required shape or the desired shape that we are doing the process for will not be achieved. Reason being because the billet is not able to cover all the we can say area, all the size that is being taken off. The leftover size because as we say the left in gap if we call is left in that case. In that case it will be affecting the final shape of the you can say workpiece. So because of the demands, the process is suitable to make simple and symmetrical part geometries and to work materials such as aluminum, magnesium, and their alloys. So due to this, we can say a drawback or a limitation for this. It is we use this process generally for we can say the part having a symmetrical geometries or a part geometries in this case. So and the material that we normally use in this for this we can say plaster forging is normally aluminum and magnesium alloys for this case. Then like in first case here we see this is starting work part. Here now this is press, this is die. Then we put on the force with this here. So then the shape of this is known as the barreling effect that you were talking about here because it is not if it is not a we can say theoretical situation. In actual situation it will be going towards like a form of barreling. Then it is being pushed over this. So then it is being pushed, the size of the billet changes, and as far as in this stage we see there are gaps or to the sides of this, and when excessive pressure or more of the pressure continuously pressure is being applied upon this, the sides of the gap is being filled by the material itself in this case. And this is here it is the dark one. It is the final shape of the material or the finished part, we can say, that is lying between a die and the punch with a force to be stopped. Then next is your coining. Coining is a simple application of closed die forging in which fine details in the die impression are impressed into the top or and bottom surfaces of the workpiece. Like this is the process how our coins are generated. Clear? So how our coins are manufactured? Clear? Like it is, we provide the shape onto the below and top of the die. Clear? See, on the some part is on the press and some part is on the die. Either it can be on both or it can be on a single part. Either it can be on a die or on a press, or it can be on a press or a die, or it can lie on a board also. Here, so what will be happening in this? This is a starting blank, starting of cycle in this case, and the sponge goes down with the force on this, and then it is being further pushed upon this. Then the shape that is from the die and the punch is being reflected onto your workpiece like this, and then the finished part is produced, and it is being taken off over again. The punch is being, we can say, taken back onto the initial point where it is being started, and the ram pressure is used to remove and ejection of part from this part. Clear? So when it is being pushed, clear, the punch has done its work, and it has already been pushed onto the die. Then after that it is being ejected and the punch moves back to its initial position, and again with the help of ram pressure we push it out the finished part out of this cavity in this case. So this will be basically the flat surface, and with the impressions on top surface on the flat and on the flat surface. It can be on the top and we can say top and bottom both sides, or it can be on a single side. Anyway, top or bottom. This is basically the process where how our coins are produced. Normally we use the coins. So normally the shape of the coin and the diameter of coin is fixed over this layer, and then what happens is that it has been the coin is being it is being put in that size, and the impression on the coin is being placed onto the die and on the punch, and then it is being pushed again to the coin, and as the coin goes out, the impression like we are writing on it like 10 rupees, 1 rupees, or it is a stamp of like a country like Bharat Sarkar or anything that is being put onto the coin part here, and when that it is ejected, the punch moves back, and with the help of ram pressure, it is being ejected from the coin is being ejected from the your die in this case. So this is this process, as because we can make coins with this, or a very, we can say the parts with a very less thickness in this can be generated, and the diameter is also to be fixed. Not very much diameter can be of part can be, we can say, manufactured by this process. So this process is known as your coining also. Though there is a little flow of metal in coining, obviously because the thickness is very less and the diameter of the material is also very less, so there is very little flow of the metal in this case. The pressures required to reproduce the surface details in the die cavity are at part with other impression forging operations. But we can say, although there is a limited amount of metal flowing in this case, but the pressure that is, if we compare the amount of pressure that is being applied in the coining process, is almost same as like it is the case of lateral forging, or with flash forging, or die forging, any open die forging, any type of forging process. The amount of pressure is same, although the dimensions in this case are very small, but still the, we can say, the amount of pressure we are applying on it is same as it's a contribute other processes in this case. So this is coining. Then comes our forging hammers, presses, and dies. So hammers operate by applying an impact loading on the workpiece. So what is the purpose? We can say work of hammers. Purpose of hammer is that is they apply an impact load here on the workpiece. This is also called as drop hammer, owing to the means of delivering impact energy. Like we normally we use hammer in our manually in our daily life. We normally take up a hammer and strike it onto the surface. Like, and that the part is that hammering is known as, that is basically we are providing impact energy onto the we can say surface for this. So that is basically impact loading or impact energy we are providing to this. So same in the case of your hammers for the use you are forging. So these hammers are also basically a means of that, but in the case this case the you can say the shape, their size, and the amount of pressure that is being used in this case is very much high as it is compared to our normal. But the phenomena, the principle as we do a normal hammering at our homes, or is similar to that in the case of this hammering in this. When the upper die strikes the workpiece, the impact energy applied causes the part to take form of die cavity. So when the die strikes the workpiece, clear? So what happens? The impact energy that is we are applying onto this, it causes the part to take the shape of the die cavity as it is. Where sometimes it can be the shape can be achieved on a single blow, and sometimes it may require we can say several blows of hammer on this also, because depending upon we can say the hardness of the material, depending upon the depth of the impression, depending upon the shape of this your the impression that is to be put, the we can say the type of impressions that are to be generated on the workpiece. There can be it can be done by a single blow of hammer, or it can we may require many more blows, like or we can may require several blows of hammer for this also. Then drop hammers are further classified into two groups. That is, the first one is gravity drop hammers. Then second is your power drop hammers. So gravity drop hammers are they achieve their energy by falling weight of heavy ram. So in that case, it is normally they are using their own weight by the weight of this gravity. If we say if in it the role of gravity is being played over this, because they are quite heavy in this, and they are taken their role is basically they are receiving energy by the weight of their own ram that is falling onto this. The process of the blow is dependent on the height of the drop of the weight of the ram. So the factors that will be affecting the gravity drop hammers is the first one will be the height of the drop, because as much height we took off to the hammer, from as much height as long height it will be, you can say as higher height it is being dropped onto this workpiece, the more amount of energy is being generated with the increase in height. Secondly, the second factor that will be consisting of this, that will be the weight of the ram. That will be the amount of weight it will be putting on with a single blow. So as much as the we can say the weight is increased, clear. So the amount of weight is increased, the amount of impression it can go more into the metal is also increased. So the two factors that is the case of the gravity drop hammer. The first one is there should be the increase in height, clear, because as the height increases, impression goes more deeper. Secondly, the weight, because just increasing the height won't matter if it is not having the proper weight or excess of weight. So it must constitute of height. It should be a proper mixture of your height as well as of the proper weight of that gravity drop hammers in this case. Then second are power drop hammers. They accelerate the ram by pressurized air or steam. Like second one is the case of where it is not like the work of gravity. That is, the ram is accelerated by you can say pressurized air. It can be from pressurized air. They can be hydraulic. They can be pneumatic. They can be from steam also, because they are accelerated by like normally we nowadays it is because hydraulic your hydraulic hammers, or you can say pneumatic hammers in this case, or it can be from the help of your steams also. Then comes your presses. The force is given to the forging billet gradually and not like impact force. So in this case, it is not the impact loading or impact force. It is the we can say the forcing. The force is applied gradually. Gradually means the intensity of the force goes on. You can say increasing with respect to time. Clear? So as long as the time proceeds, the intensity will also get to increase. If we plot a curve like this, so it will be a curved line, inclined line. So as we can say the time is increasing, and the force will also get to increase proportionally with time also. So mechanical presses, in this presses, the rotating motion of a drive motor is converted into translation motion of the ram. So in this case, the rotate The rotating motion of the drive motor, that is from the rotation of the drive motor, has been converted into translating motion of the ram. So here we are converting rotating motion of a motor into translation motion of a ram. In this case, they operate by means of eccentrics. Eccentrics means like if there is a difference in eccentrics, so that get to manage over this eccentrics. Then cranks or knuckle joints. Then mechanical presses typically achieve very high forces at the bottom of the forging stroke. So they normally, you can say, get to achieve the higher value of forces, and that too on the bottom where it gets to strike the workpiece over that part. On the forging stroke is being done in this case. Then hydraulic presses. Hydraulically driven piston is used to actuate the ram. Hydraulic presses, as we all know, like that is using the phenomena of that is it has been falling on this like hydraulically we are putting a lesser amount of frequency force, but it gets multiplied and it gets with a smaller amount of effort we can produce greater amount of force, greater amount of force by hydraulic action of the fluid. Clear? Then are the screw presses. It apply forces by a screw mechanism. In this case, applied by a screw mechanism that drives the vertical ram. Both screw drive and hydraulic drive operate at relatively low ram speeds. So it is same like that in the case of your vertical ram, but it is being controlled by the motion of screw. Like it moves from as the screw advances, the movement of ram is also you can say proportional to that part of ram. So in this case is inside draft angle and this is rib. Clear? So this is the forging die. This is fillet to be provided and these are the corners. This is rib on the both sides and this is parting line, the upper side and the lower side. This is flash that is to be cut later on. This is outside draft angle. This is inside lying in the inside are the inside draft angle and on the outside are the outside draft angle. This is land of this and this is lower die, this is upper die, this is basically parting line, this is constituting of three parts, that is upper die, parting line and lower die. This is where it is being constituted into two, we can say halves, upper half and the lower half. So this is also called gutter in this case, the last part that is provided over this, and the lower one part that is supporting this one is rib, upper is fillet and the lower one that is connecting one rib to another rib is your web. And so the both the sides the fillets are provided and with the flash up till the flash will go, that is a gutter, and the connecting the web with the rib is a part is known as your land in this case. There. Now get to each parts. A parting line divides the upper die and lower die. Like in the case of molding boxes, in poke and drag is being differentiated by parting line. In this case, we are not doing casting or we are not having the mold box over there. The parting line is dividing the two halves of the die, that is the upper part, upper die, and the lower die into two parts. In other words, it is a plane where the two die halves meet, or we can say, yeah, it's possible that it is the plane where the upper die or the lower die is meeting, where the two halves of the die actually meet, where the selection of parting line affects grain flow in the part, required load and flash formation. So the we can say if we select the parting line, because if it is onto the half like so, then it will be affecting the grain structure. Where it having the grain, I will be controlling the amount of required load and the formation of flash by the selecting the proper, we can say, division of upper die and lower die through the parting line in this case. So draft is the amount of taper given on the sides of the part required to remove it from the die. So draft is normally draft allowance is also given. The draft is normally we put down the taper onto the side so that we can say when we get to remove or when the part is required to remove it out from the die, so it is normally that it gets to slide basically. Clear? So when we get to take something out of the die, so if there is onto the dimensions, like if it is not able on the straight side, it will not get be ejected or taken out easily. So the draft is provided basically a tapered angle in this case, so that it's easy ejection of the part or we can easy removal of the part from the die, that is being for this, and the draft is normally used for that purpose. And the angles for the draft never normally used. Like for removal of part of that is we keep the draft angle fixed for different materials. Like it is 3 degrees for aluminum and aluminum magnesium parts, and 5 to 7 degrees for steel parts. We normally use the draft angle for this case. Yeah, so depending upon, because that is according to the basically the density of the material and the weight basically over the material over this. So that is, so angles are defined for this case. Amount of laser angles, like for we can say lightweight parts, it is aluminum and magnesium, and for heavy we can say when we go for a heavy range materials like steel, like it gets to, the angle gets to increase from 5 degree to 7 degree in this case. Then next is webs and ribs. Now what is web and ribs? It is thin portions of the forging that is parallel and perpendicular to the parting line. So this is ribs if we call it. This is ribs. So this part is where that is connecting the two ribs in this case. So webs and ribs, these are thin portions of the forging that is parallel and perpendicular to the parting line. Now see, this is parting line going from center, and these are parallel as well as perpendicular to the parting line in this case. Then more difficulty witnessed in forming the part as they become very thinner, because they are thin in cross section. So it is very difficult to differentiate the webs with parting line. So it almost lies close to, we can say, to the your parting line. So there we can say very less times there it is they can be visible over this. Then fillet and corner radii. So fillets are this part that is provided over that we know this thing. This is fillet. Clear? So fillet is normally a small radii limits, normally that a small radii that is given on the wrist with the metal flow that increasing spaces on the drive on the die surfaces clothing. So this is when we get to a small radii to the for the metal flow, and to increase the stresses on die surfaces, that is because we call it as fillet or corner radii. Then it is flash. Flash we all know. We all know the pressure buildup because of flash formation is controlled. Proper design of gutter and flash plant. So basically, the flash is the excess of material that is to be removed later on by the machining or any part of process that is to be taken to separate the flash from the your finished die in this case. Then next are the other forging operations, that is upset forging. It is a deformation operation in which a cylindrical workpiece is increased in diameter with reduction in length. So in this case, we see it is normally done on cylindrical workpiece, is that is to increase the diameter and reduce its length in this case. So we are increasing the diameter but reducing its length in this case. Industry practice, it is done in a closed die forging. So offset forging is widely used in fastener industry to form heads on nails, bolts, and similar products. So see, the first stage, it is this is top, this is punch, this is grip and die, and this is the side of the feed. This is wire stock in this case. This is the process of feeding. The first one is initial stages in this case. Now the second stage, the gripping is holding the feed in this case, or the wire stock in this case. Clear? This is direction of the feed. Clear? And the punch is back and the stop is back in this case. So it is being gripped in this way. And second stage is gripping the work and retracting of stop. Clear? The stop is taken off and it is being gripped in this case. Then on the third stage, we see forward movement of your